shy. So, it's good to be with everybody. So I think we usually do questions and answers, right, Prema?
Yes, we do questions and answers.
All right. And for those of you who need to know, I'm recording this session in case we get your permission to post this later on so people can see the questions and answers. So, who has a question or who has an answer? First of all, I was asked, actually, there was a question I got by the email from Martina about chanting. Because there is, some people have a problem with what we call japa apnea. Oh, you're supposed to translate this, I think, Prema.
I'm actually not sure if I need to. Aha, Mia, that doesn't understand. Okay. Um, torej, dobil sem pismo od Martine in to je bilo povezano z japa apnea. Okay. I'll
And
read it to see.
yeah, japa apnea means that sometimes people are chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, and they can't breathe. So then they gradually go unconscious into spiritual trance, and if they stop breathing long enough, they go back to Godhead.
Torej, japa apnea pomeni, da včasih ljudje pojejo Hare Krishna in čez nekaj časa ne morejo več dihati in potem padejo v nezavest in če to dovolj dolgo traja, potem grejo nazaj v duhovni svet.
So we don't want you all to go back to Godhead too quickly. You can translate.
Ampak nočemo, da greste prehitro nazaj v duhovni svet.
We want you to wait a while before you go back to Godhead.
Ampak počakajte, še počakajte malo, preden boste šli nazaj v duhovni svet.
So, seriously speaking, it's a problem that many devotees have.
In to je pravzaprav čisto resno, to je problem, ki ga imajo mnogi bakte, da ne morejo dihati pravilno.
So, so the question is how to breathe while you're chanting Hare Krishna.
Vprašanje je torej, kako dihati, ko pojemo Hare Krishna.
I'm going to try to keep everything short so the translation will be easier, all right, Prema? And so let me know if I get if I start speaking it too long. So there are several different methods by which you can avoid dying while you're chanting.
Obstaja nekaj različnih metod, s katerimi se lahko izogneš smrti med mantranjem.
So, of course, we want to chant while we're dying, but we don't want to die while we're chanting.
Seveda, hočemo mantrati, ko umiramo, nočemo pa umreti, ko mantramo.
So, one method is you learn how to chant while you're breathing in.
Ena metoda je, da se naučiš mantrati medtem, ko vdihuješ.
And I was asked to give a demonstration on that.
In so me prosili, da to demonstriram.
Okay, I will demonstrate. So, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Of course, usually, yeah, you do that when you're chanting really softly.
Seveda ponavadi to narediš, ko mantraš zelo potihem.
So when I chant, it's like Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, everyone hear that?
Ali ste lahko vsi to slišali?
So that's one way.
To je eden
Another
način.
another way is you chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Anyway, so the only way I found practical is to learn how to chant while you're breathing in also.
Torej, edini način zame, kako je to praktično, je, da se naučiš mantrati medtem, ko vdihuješ.
And that way I'm able to chant rounds in 5 minutes.
In na ta način jaz lahko končam en krog v 5 minutah.
If I do it the other way, it's usually a 7 or 8 minute round.
Če pa naredim na ta drugi način, pa ponavadi traja 7 do 8 minut en krog.
Maybe let's try that again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Yeah, so I can also see doing it that way. I'm not taking deep breaths, which is not so good for you.
In vidim, da na ta način tudi ne vdihujem dolgih vdihov, kar pravzaprav ni dobro, da bi delal.
So, anyway, everyone should figure out a way to do it. Everybody's different. But the main thing is be careful of not breathing too little, or else you will lose consciousness, get a headache, seriously, or become dizzy.
Torej, vsak mora sam najti nek način, kako lahko diha med matranjem, ampak paziti pa morate, da ne dihate premalo, preplitko, ker potem boste začeli izgubljati zavest in pač ne bo v redu za vas.
Okay. Who has a question?
Gregor had a question already before, and then Sebastian.
Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. My question is related to the tolerance.
Moje vprašanje je povezano z toleranco.
I have heard a story that in one story Krishna has...
maybe wait a second. Maybe it'd be quicker if you speak in Slovenian and Prema translates your question. Otherwise, it's gonna take a lot longer.
Okay. V eni zgodbi, ki sem jo prebral, je Krishna oprostil enemu svojemu sorodniku 100 prekrškov, ki bi bili drugače v bistvu kaznovani z smrtjo. Ne? In me zanima, boste zdaj, Prema, boste prevedla sprot ali počakam?
V redu, lahko. I would like to know about tolerance. There was one story in which Krishna forgave one of his relatives 100 offenses.
Do you want to hear that story?
No, zanima me, kje je meja tolerance? Krishna je tu oprostil 100-krat. Ali bi bil toleranten, če bi recimo, ne vem, oprostil samo enkrat ali 2-krat? To me zanima. Kje je meja, kje je toleranca, kje pa potem v bistvu pa človek mora reagirati? Hvala.
So I would like to know, where is the borderline? So Krishna forgave 100 offenses, but how do we know? Do we forgive 1 or 2? How do we know how much we should forgive and when we shouldn't forgive
Okay,
anyone.
good question. So the 100 offenses that Krishna forgave were offenses against him, or against Krishna.
Torej, torej teh 100 žalitev, ki jih je Krišna oprostil, so bile žalitve proti njemu osebno.
Those offenses were not against a devotee or anyone else but Krishna himself.
Torej, to niso bile žalitve proti baktam ali komorkoli drugemu, ampak do njega samega.
So one should be ready to forgive offenses against themselves,
Moramo biti pripravljeni oprostiti žalitve, ki so jih zagrešili proti nam osebno.
but if one offends another devotee or offends the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one should not simply be silent.
Če pa nekdo užali drugega bakto ali Krišno, potem ne smemo biti samo tiho.
So, of course, if someone offends you by hitting you or physically or something like that, then you get away from the situation. You save yourself.
Seveda, če te nekdo užali tako, da te fizično udari, fizično napade, potem se umakneš iz te situacije na varno.
And if someone offends you verbally, just leave the situation. You don't just stick around and allow yourself to be offended. But you forgive them.
Če pa vas nekdo samo z besedami užali, potem enostavno greste stran in ne ostanete tam, da se žalitve ne nadaljujejo, ampak oprostite.
But if someone offends someone else, you become like fire, and don't do anything physical, but just like verbally chastise that person or run away from the situation, one of the two things.
Če pa nekdo užali nekega drugega bakta, potem morate biti kot ogenj, se pravi, da okregati to osebo ali pa iti stran, če ne morete nič narediti.
Just like the other day, I was talking to someone, and that person offended the devotees, and I became like fire at that point.
Prejšnji dan sem govoril z eno osebo in ta oseba je užalila bakte in takrat sem postal kot ogenj in sem se zelo razjezil na njega.
Because if someone offends someone whom you love, you should become angry.
Ker če nekdo užali nekoga, ki ga imaš rad, se moraš razjeziti.
Just like if someone offends, if you're a parent and someone offends your child, you get angry because you love your child.
Prav kakor, če imaš otroke in če nekdo užali tvojega otroka, potem se razjeziš, ker imaš rad svojega otroka.
So that anger is because you love someone. So we should love the devotees and we should love Krishna.
In do te jeze pride zaradi tega, ker imaš rad to osebo in mi moramo imeti radi druge bakte in mi moramo imeti radi Krišno.
So in the story you cited, everybody was angry at the person who was offending Krishna. But Krishna kept those people from attacking the person Shishupal, obviously.
Torej v tej zgodbi, ki si jo navedel, so bili vsi jezni na tega žaljivca Šišupala, ampak Krišna jih je zadrževal, da niso napadli Šišupala.
So we do not tolerate offenses against others, but we tolerate if someone says something about us, we say, well, they're just trying to make us humble.
Torej, ne toleriramo, če nekdo žali druge bakte, če pa nekdo užali nas, potem pač rečemo, no, torej, samo hoče ta oseba, da postanem ponižena.
Like if someone calls me a rascal, I think, oh, they're my friend because they're making me humble.
Tako, če me nekdo pokliče, da sem pokvarjenec, potem rečem, no, ta oseba samo je moj prijatelj, ker mi pomaga, da postanem ponižen.
And if someone says nice things about me, I get scared because they're endangering my spiritual life by making me more proud.
Če pa nekdo govori lepe stvari o meni, potem se malo prestrašim, ker me ta oseba postavlja v nevarnost, da bom postal preveč ponosen.
So, as a guru in ISKCON, I'm in constant danger of people saying nice things.
In kot guru v ISKCONu sem nenehno v nevarnosti, da ljudje govorijo lepe stvari o meni.
Just like we have this class every evening here, which is too late for all of you, and there's one devotee who keeps saying nice things about me, and I said, you're threatening my spiritual life.
Vsak dan, vsak večer imamo predavanja, ampak to je že prepozna ura za vas. In en bakta vedno govori lepe stvari o meni. In jaz samo rečem, ti ogrožaš moje duhovno življenje.
And then sometimes if we're chastised by the spiritual master, it's a sign of love. So we actually, I would love to be chastised by Prabhupada.
In potem včasih, če nas duhovni učitelj okrega, to pa je izraz ljubezni. In jaz bi zelo rad, da bi mene Prabhupada okregal.
Once upon a time, there was a devotee who was chastised. His name was Jagadananda by Lord Chaitanya.
Nekoč se je zgodilo, da je gospod Chaitanya okregal bakto po imenu Jagadananda.
And so there was another devotee named Sanatana Goswami who was praised by Lord Chaitanya.
Bil pa je tudi drugi bakta po imenu Sanatana Goswami, ki ga je gospod Chaitanya hvalil.
And Sanatana Goswami said, he said, you love the other devotee more than me because you're chastising, and me, you're just praising me.
In Sanatana je rekel gospodu Čaitanji, ti imaš bolj rad tega drugega bakto, zato ker njega kregaš, mene pa samo hvališ.
Because when the spiritual master or spiritual leader corrects us, that means it's a very close relationship.
Zaradi tega, ko nas duhovni učitelj, duhovni vodja, ko nas popravi, korektira, to pomeni, da imamo pravzaprav zelo tesen odnos z njim, zelo intimen odnos z njim.
See, I only chastise those who I am sure can take it.
Jaz bom samo okregal tiste, za katere vem, da to lahko sprejmejo.
Everyone else I praise.
Vse druge pa samo slavim, hvalim.
Or I will give them instructions in the form of a story or a joke, because they won't be able to take the direct instruction.
Ali pa jim bom dal navodilo v obliki neke zgodbe ali pa šale, ker niso pripravljeni, da bi jim direktno povedal.
So, interesting question. So who else has a question?
Sebastian?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Good to see you.
Jaz bi rad poprašal, kako izboljšati mantranje v smislu, da nam ne uhaja tako stran med samim mantranjem, čeprav se zelo trudimo, in ali lahko prakticiramo tudi mantranje v Hvala, Haribol.
My question is regarding chanting. How to chant so that the mind would not go away. And the second is if we can chant just in the mind.
That's a good question. Okay, let me answer the second first. We can chant in the mind, although for our rounds, the chanting should be at least softly to count the rounds.
Lahko mantramo v ampak kar se tiče teh naših krogov, se pravi tega števila krogov, ki jih moramo, bi morali vsaj polglasno izgovarjati.
I mean, I personally chant my rounds now very softly. It's almost like a whisper.
Jaz sedaj izgovarjam svoje kroge zelo potiho, skoraj šepetaje.
But Prabhupada gave us the instruction that when you chant your rounds, you should use your tongue and your lips.
Prabhupada pa nam je dal navodilo, da ko mantraš svoje kroge, uporabiš svoj jezik in usnice.
So even when I chant very softly, like Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, like that, you can see my lips and tongue moving.
Torej, tudi če mantram čisto potihem, lahko vidiš, kako se premikajo moje usnice in jezik.
So as far as your second question, how to keep the mind focused, I'll answer that. Translate.
Kar pa se tiče tvojega drugega vprašanja, kako lahko obdržimo osredotočen, bom pa sedaj odgovoril.
It's important to have some emotional connection when you're chanting.
Pomembno je, da imamo neko čustveno povezavo medtem, ko mantramo.
Because the chanting has to be connected with the heart chakra.
Ker mantranje mora biti povezano z srčno čakro.
And that means one has to really declare one's intention, which is called a sankalpa, in one's mind before chanting.
In to pomeni, da moramo pred mantranjem izreči sankalpo oziroma to svojo namero, zakaj mi mantramo.
Which means, basically, why am I chanting? What do I want? What am I begging Krishna for?
Kar pomeni, zakaj mantram? Kaj pravzaprav prosim Krishno s tem mantranjem?
I mean, for example, just let me give you the example of me and this morning before I started to chant japa.
No, kot primer bom dal svoj primer. Danes zjutraj, preden sem začel mantrati svoje kroge.
When I took rest last night, I was thinking I really want to contribute something substantial to Srila Prabhupada's society.
Ko sem včeraj zvečer legel k počitku, sem razmišljal, da resnično želim nekaj velikega prinesti k Srila Prabhupadovem skupnosti, ki jo je Srila Prabhupada ustanovil.
So when I woke up and started chanting, I was praying to Krishna while I was chanting, let me do something for Prabhupada, let me accomplish something for Prabhupada. And so this was the emotional intensity that helped me focus on my japa this morning.
In ko sem se zjutraj zbudil in sem začel mantrati, sem prosil med mantranjem, prosim, naj naredim nekaj za Prabhupada, naj naredim nekaj za Prabhupada. In to je bila ta čustvena povezava, ki mi je pomagala, da sem bil koncentriran med mantranjem.
So while I was chanting, I was praying. And that emotional, anyway, that emotional state really kept my mind fixed. Can you hear me?
Zgleda, da se je internet prekinil. Se bo prišel nazaj, ker
Okay. So, so anyway, everybody has different desires or
bi,
feelings in connection with Krishna. So you have to figure out what is actually your sankalpa.
Excuse me, Gurudev, for a few a minute or two, you were disconnected, so we couldn't hear
Oh,
what
can you hear me
said.
now?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear.
So everybody has a different sankalpa, and then the sankalpa changes from day to day.
Torej, vsakdo ima različno sankalpo oziroma namero in ta namera se lahko spremeni iz dneva v dan.
So that's up to everyone to figure out what is their desire in relationship with Krishna before they start chanting.
In to mora vsak sam ugotoviti, kaj je pravzaprav ta njihova želja v povezavi s Krišno, preden začnejo z mantrati.
As Lord Chaitanya says, Ayananda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Bham Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Padapankaja Stita Duli Sadrasam Vachintya. O son of Nanda Maharaj, I'm your eternal servant, but somehow or other I've fallen into this horrible ocean of birth and death. Please fix me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
In torej, to je tako, kot gospod Čitanja pravi v tem verzu. Moj gospod, jaz sem tvoj večni služabnik, ampak nekako sem padel v ta strašni ocean življenja in smrti. Prosim te, reši me iz tega oceana in me naj najdem zavetje ob tvojih lotosovih stopalih.
Okay. So, next question. I think Vindi has a question.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to meet you.
Vprašanje?
First time.
Nice to
My
meet you.
question is, thank you. I have a sub question first about chanting.
Okay.
Mostly I use headphones and I'm listening Prabhupada's 16 rounds mantra on my phone. Is that good for mantraing to set my mind also on his voice while I'm whispering actually the whole thing by myself and doing those 16 rounds? Thank you.
Translate, Prema.
Ne vem, če sem sploh dobro razumela. Me boš popravil, če nisem prav razumela. Da ti pravzaprav poslušaš ves čas Prabhupadovo mantranje
Ja.
in še lahko enkrat poveš.
V bistvu poslušam torej na MP3 player, lepo na slušalke in 16 krogov v bistvu z njim mantram, tako da njega poslušam, a hkrati pač govorim, torej se slišim ali pa včasih sam šepetam. No.
In kaj je vprašanje?
Če je to okej,
Aha,
če je to pozitivno.
okay. No,
Kot
saj zdaj
praksa,
povedal
taka
v
bolj moderna.
slovenščini. Ja.
So,
He
the question-
already said it in
yeah,
Slovenian,
all
so
right,
I
I
don't
got
need
it.
to
I just want to
translate now.
fix my camera. The camera has to be set on automatic. Okay, camera's set. So, if you're able to also hear your own chanting simultaneously with Prabhupada, yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
You can translate that, Prema.
We don't hear you again.
I think,
We didn't hear Gurudev. The connection was bad.
did you hear me?
Lahko jaz prevedem. I heard you, so I will try to translate it. V bistvu, če lahko slišiš svoj glas med mantranjem, ko poslušaš Prabhupadovga, potem je to v redu postopek.
So
Thank you for the answer.
Okay, I think it was you, Prema, who couldn't hear me. Maybe your connection goes in and out.
Yeah.
Because it seems like everybody else is hearing.
Oh, everybody else? Okay, so then it was just me.
Yeah, because normally if my connection goes out, I get a warning sign on Zoom. It tells me that.
Okay.
So, okay. Next, I think Vindy has another question, or Luca, or not, or Martina.
Luca and Martina.
Let's do Luca.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. Please accept
Hare
my humble obeisances.
Okay.
It's very nice to see you in such a good health, I must say. I have a question. In one of your lectures, you're mentioning how do we treat enemies, although we must reach the level we don't have any enemies. But how do we treat enemies who especially want our money? You mentioned this story about you going to India with one devotee, and the custom says that he cannot go because he must go into quarantine, and you paid for him. But you never see that person again. But in my case, I have a special case that you know about. How to treat, because if you gave the money to such person, then it will return and want more and more. How do we deal with that? Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Prema, you got to translate that one.
Yes, so vprašanje je bilo, kako se obnašamo do sovražnikov, čeprav praviloma ne bi imeli sovražnikov, ampak kaj naredimo v primeru, recimo ste povedali ta primer, ko ste šli v Indijo in ste plačali, ste pač dali denar, podkupili pravzaprav nekoga, da vam ni bilo treba iti v karanteno. Ampak tega človeka niste potem nikoli več videli. In kaj bi se zgodilo, če bi dali denar? Kaj bo potem, če bi dali denar nekomu? Tukaj mi je pa ušlo.
Ki skozi izsiljuje pol za več denarja.
Aha, če potem ta oseba izsiljuje, pa hoče še več denarja.
Okay. So, that was an India story.
To je bila zgodba iz Indije.
Everywhere else, I would report him to the police.
Vse posod drugje bi jih prijavil policiji.
Because I don't bribe people generally, but in certain cultures, that's how people make their living. So you really have to understand how to deal with people in different cultures.
Jaz ponavadi ne podkupljam ljudi, ampak v določenih kulturah je to v navadi in tako pravzaprav ljudje od tega živijo. Se pravi, morate najprej razumeti, kakšna je kultura na določenem mestu.
So the whole idea is just being practical. And I didn't think of the person as my enemy. I just thought, he's a nice guy and this is how he makes his living.
Torej, gre se samo za to, da smo praktični. Jaz nisem imel te osebe za sovražnika, ampak sem pač hotel urediti stvar.
Just like Prabhupada told the story of how Prabhupada's father had a cloth shop.
Prabhupada je povedal to zgodbo, kako je njegov oče imel trgovino z blagom.
So Prabhupada's father would put out a bowl of rice to bribe the mice so they wouldn't eat the clothes.
In Prabhupadov oče je postavil v trgovino eno posodo z rižem, tako da miši ne bi jedle tkanine in da bi pač ta riž raje pojedle.
So normally we don't go around feeding mice, unless they're actually prasadam. I do feed mice prasadam, but anyway, normally we don't feed mice, as part of our occupation. But if it's necessary to protect something, yeah, then we'll feed the mice.
In ponavadi ne gremo naokoli in ne hranimo miši, dobro, razen če prasadam, potem lahko damo malo, ampak ponavadi ne gremo naokoli hraniti miši, ampak če pa moramo nekaj zaščititi pred mišimi, potem pa jih mogoče bomo nahranili.
But a devotee really never sees anyone as his or her enemy.
Ampak bhakta res nikoli ne vidi nikogar kot svojega sovražnika.
A devotee should love everybody, but also be practical.
Bhakta mora imeti rad vsakogar, hkrati pa tudi mora biti praktičen.
Just like if you're driving a car and you're going too fast and the police pull you over, you should love the police.
Tako, recimo, če vozite avto in vas policist ustavi, potem morate imeti radi tega policista.
Anyway, but you shouldn't like what the police do by giving you a ticket. You can like the person.
Ampak seveda, ne bi smeli imeti radi tega, kar policist naredi, ne, ko vam da kazen. Ampak policista samega bi pa morali imeti radi.
Like in Christianity, it's stated, you hate the sin, but you don't hate the sinner.
V krščanstvu pravijo, sovražiš greh, ne pa grešnika.
So it's important for a devotee ultimately to come to the stage of not hating anyone or not having any enemies.
In je pomembno za bhakto, da pride do te stopnje, da nikogar ne sovraži, da nima nobenega sovražnika.
We can hate certain actions, but we shouldn't hate people.
Lahko sovražimo določena dejanja, ne bi pa smeli sovražiti ljudi.
Okay, I hope that's clear. But we have to be practical, if we have to pay something, sometimes we pay something.
Moramo biti praktični, če včasih moramo nekaj plačati, potem pač plačamo.
I have so many stories about India. I could give a whole class about bribery in India.
Imam toliko zgodb o Indiji, da bi lahko dal celo predavanje o podkupovanju v Indiji.
So, but everywhere else I don't tolerate bribery.
Ampak nikjer drugje ne toleriram podkupovanja.
Unless sometimes I say to a disciple that if you clean my house, I'll give you some mahaprasadam.
Razen včasih rečem kakšnemu učencu, če boš počistil mojo hišo, potem ti bom dal nekaj mahaprasadama.
So we can bribe people with mahaprasadam.
Lahko torej podkupimo ljudi z mahaprasadama.
Or with a trip to India.
Ali z izletom v Indijo.
Or with a nice wife.
Ali z lepo ženo.
That's a joke. Anyway, so, all right, another question.
Martina had a question.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisance. All the glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for demonstrating breathing while chanting. It helps a lot. Thank you very much. And I have one question. When we have to make decisions in our life, how we know when the answer or when the Krishna speaks to us, or it's this the mind, or when it is our intuition?
Okay, Prema.
Thank you.
Ko moramo se odločati v življenju, sprejemati odločitve, kako vemo, kdaj nam Krišna nekaj govori, kdaj je naš kdaj je intuicija.
Well, I can say the way I make decisions. I can explain. Okay.
Lahko razložim, kako jaz sprejemam odločitve.
I think that if Prabhupada was right here with me and I explained to him what dilemma or question I had, what would Prabhupada say?
Jaz pravzaprav slišim Prabhupada, ko imam neko dilemo, ko ne vem, kaj bi se odločil, pravzaprav slišim, kaj bi Prabhupada rekel.
And if it's not really that clear, then I may consult some of my senior godbrothers or godsisters and ask them, what do you think Prabhupada would say about a particular decision?
In če ta glas še vedno ni dovolj jasen, potem se bom posvetoval z svojimi starejšimi brati po Bogu, sestrami po Bogu, kaj oni mislijo, kako bi se Šrila Prabhupada odločil v tej situaciji.
Now, if it's about something, let's say, a little bit more down to earth, like buying a car or something like that, then obviously I would talk to different experts in that field.
Če pa se gre za nekaj bolj posvetnega, kot recimo kupiti avto ali kaj takega, potem se bom svetoval z tistimi, ki so strokovnjaki na tem področju.
Or I would go on Google and Google it.
Ali pa bom šel na Google in pogooglal.
Especially when you're doing research. Let's say recently I got a new computer and I just did a lot of research on the internet. I took my time.
Ja, in še posebej včasih pač grem na internet in raziskujem, raziskujem, si vzamem čas, da raziščem zadevo.
Yeah, I didn't ask Prabhupada about it because it wasn't a subject matter that you ask your guru about.
To nisem vprašal Prabhupada, ker to pač ni bila neka tema, o kateri bi moral svojega guruja vprašati.
Hey, it's good to see Mohini Radha and Tirtharaj. Wow. Haribol. They're real farmers. Haven't seen them. I miss everybody. Just pray that they'll let me back in Europe someday, hopefully soon.
Okay, if I can translate this.
Yeah, translate it.
Pogrešam vsakogar, vesel sem, da vidim Mohini Rado in Tirtharaja, ona dva sta prava pač kmetovalca in samo molim, da me bodo pustili, da lahko pridem k vam.
We talk to each other again, yes.
I've had my vaccine. I'm ready to travel.
Sem se že cepil in sem pripravljen, da potujem.
Actually, next week I'm going to be flying somewhere in the United States, so I'm ready to go.
Naslednji teden bom potoval, bom letel, sicer po Ameriki, jaz sem pripravljen, da potujem.
Okay, other questions? Who else has a question?
Kdo ima še vprašanje? Tara, potem pa Danilo, ne?
Hvala. Thank you, Hare Krishna, Maharaj, my humble obeisances. Just a quick question. We mentioned it, in the beginning that we don't want everyone to go too quick to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then again, we would like to maximize our potential in this lifetime. So where is the balance?
Where is the balance? Okay, translate that.
Torej, omenili ste, da torej ne bi hoteli, da nekdo gre prehitro nazaj v duhovni svet, ampak po drugi strani pa tudi ne želimo predolgo ostati tukaj. Kje je pravzaprav, kje je to ravnovesje, kje je prava mera tukaj?
Well, we try to spread Krishna consciousness and help other people as much as possible until the body and mind don't work anymore.
Torej, poskušamo širiti zavest Krišne in pomagati drugim ljudem, vse dokler naše telo več ne more delovati. In naše telo in ne moreta več delovati.
Just like if you have a car, you just keep it running until it doesn't work anymore, and then you got to trade it in.
Prav kako, če imaš avto, pač ga voziš, vse dokler deluje in potem ga pač zamenjaš.
In other words, as long as you can continue serving Krishna, then we want to stay in this world and please Krishna.
Z drugimi besedami, vse dokler lahko služiš Krišno, mi pravzaprav želimo ostati tukaj v tem svetu in zadovoljiti Krišno.
Like Prabhupada said in the final days, he said, give me the benediction of fighting for Krishna, dying on the battlefield, basically.
Prabhupada je pravzaprav rekel, daj mi ta blagoslov, da lahko umrem na bojišču.
Prabhupada said, we want devotees to be like Arjuna, fighting and dying, dying in the fight for Krishna. So as long as we can fight, then we stay in the material world to serve Krishna.
Prabhupada je rekel, da on želi, da so bhakti kot Arjuna, kot bojevniki, da se borijo za Krišno. In torej vse dokler se lahko borimo za Krišno, smo lahko tukaj.
Okay, and when the body doesn't work anymore, you just go to get a new one for serving Krishna.
Potem, ko pa telo več ne deluje, ne funkcionira, potem pač dobiš drugega in služiš Krišni.
If you can keep it going by replacing different parts, that's all right.
In če lahko nadaljuješ samo s tem, da zamenjaš določene dele, potem to je tudi v redu.
Until you become, what is that called again? A half man, half machine,
Dokler ne postaneš pol človek, pol stroj.
But I definitely don't want to live on in my computer. So
Ampak vsekakor nočem živeti na svojem kompjuterju, na svojem računalniku ali svojega računalnika.
So I'm not going to download my consciousness into my computer.
Ne bom spustil svoje zavesti dol v svoj računalnik.
But seriously speaking, one should take care of the body. The body belongs to Krishna, and one should do things that will maximize one's health.
Ampak čisto resno, moramo poskrbeti za naše telo, saj to naše telo pripada Krišni in moramo početi take stvari, ki bodo v največji meri povečale naše zdravje.
Good question. So, let's see, who else has a question now?
Danilo had?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hare
Please accept
Krishna.
my obeisances. I would just like to ask, overcome after corruption or some distraction, even though we start the day very good in terms that we chant and we rise early, and after these distractions, even our minds does not want to cooperate or does want to sabotage one's intention to get back on track.
All right. Prema, you can translate that.
Torej, kot sem razumela, pravi, ne vem, kako naredimo, kako se naj obnašamo, ko je naš ima toliko nekih stvari, ki ga pač potegnejo stran. Tudi če začnemo dan dobro, potem kasneje začne tavati nekam drugam. A sem v redu povedala?
Generally, that means you have a lot of mental energy.
V glavnem imamo veliko mentalne energije.
My recommendation in that case is you do some physical exercise and use up that energy, so then you'll be able to focus better.
Torej, moje priporočilo v tem primeru, ne, če imaš veliko te umske energije, je, da narediš neko fizične vaje, neko telovadbo in potem se boš lažje koncentriral.
The problem with most people is that they stay inside behind a computer or sitting down or laying down for too many hours a day.
Večina ljudi preveč na dan preživi pred računalnikom, sedi ali pa leži.
So my suggestion is, even in the middle of the winter, and it's spring now, everyone should do some exercise every day.
In zato predlagam, da vsak bi moral celo sredi zime, kaj šele spomladi, zdaj je že spomlad, bi moral iti ven in pač imeti neko rekreacijo, neko telovadbo.
And Slovenia is a very nice place for exercising. You have so many nice mountains, you have so many nice parks, so there's no lack. It's not like the poor people who live in the UK.
Torej, Slovenija je zelo lepa dežela, imate zelo veliko lepih planin in parkov in zelo primernih za rekreacijo. To ni taka dežela kot za boge ljudi v Angliji.
Prabhupada said when he asked about hell, Prabhupada said, London is hell.
Ko so Prabhupada vprašali, kaj je pekel, je Prabhupada rekel, London je pekel.
So, I know I'm saying this because there's some people from the UK online, but anyway, Slovenia is such a beautiful country.
Torej, to sem rekel, ker so nekateri ljudje tukaj z nami, ki so iz Anglije, ampak Slovenija je taka čudovito lepa dežela.
And you see, we have two devotees here who live on a farm, Mohini Radha and Tirtharaj, and they're always happy, and because they're exercising, they're farming all year round. He's climbing up hills every day. I mean, his farm is on a hill, so they have no trouble controlling their minds.
No, imamo tudi par, Mohini Rado in Tirače, ki živita, imata kmetijo in plezata in kmetujeta in nimata nobenega problema, da bi kontrolirala
Yeah, they never get angry, they're always peaceful because they're exercising.
Nikoli se ne razjezita, vedno sta mirna, to je vse zaradi dobre rekreacije, telovadbe.
But in the UK, they're always angry. That's why the Brexit came about.
Medtem pa, ko so v Angliji, so pa vedno jezni in zato je tudi prišlo do tega Brexita.
All right. Any other questions?
Še kakšno drugo vprašanje? Kdo še ni vprašal?
Oh,
Lalita Sundari.
okay.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. I wonder, I mean, maybe it's just me, but I somehow have feeling that the like mood with which Prabhupada was dealing with the people, so like disciples and other people, was a bit different than like how it is when I read his books. I don't know, like the mood with which he was writing the commentaries.
Yes.
For example, Srimad Bhagavatam. So I somehow feel that there's the difference.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to
So why is that? Why did he
translate that, Prema? Because that's a good question.
Torej, opazila sem, da je bilo Prabhupadovo razpoloženje drugačno, kadar je on pač imel ta osebni stik z ljudmi, z svojimi učenci, kot pa razpoloženje, ki sem ga zaznala v njegovih knjigah. In kako je to, zakaj je to?
So, Lita Sundari has raised a very important question because you see a lot of difference between the moods of when Prabhupada acted and what he wrote.
Torej, Lalita Sundari je postavila zelo pomembno vprašanje, ker pravzaprav vidimo veliko razliko v razpoloženju Šrila Prabhupada, kadar je imel osebne stike z ljudmi in pa v tem, kako je on pisal knjige.
Because when Prabhupada was writing, he was manifesting the very strict mood of the previous acharyas.
Ko je Prabhupada pisal, je pokazal to zelo, lahko bi rekli, strogo razpoloženje prejšnjih acharij, duhovnih učiteljev.
But when Prabhupada acted, he was demonstrating how to apply the teachings of the acharyas to the modern world.
Ko pa je Prabhupada deloval, je pa pokazal zgled pravzaprav, kako je treba uporabiti to znanje, to starodavno znanje v modernem svetu.
Because there is a difference between the details and principles in regard to Krishna consciousness.
Ker obstaja razlika med detajli in načeli, kar se tiče zavesti Krišne.
So the acharyas, the past acharyas, they dealt with a different world than we have today.
Prejšnji acharje so pravzaprav imeli opravka z drugim svetom, kot pa ga imamo sedaj.
Which means a different culture and social norms.
Kar pomeni drugačna kultura in drugačna pravila socialnega življenja.
And of course, you're probably referring to gender roles here in your question. Am I right?
In verjetno tukaj ti pravzaprav to, kar govoriš, se verjetno nanaša na vlogo med spoloma. Ali
Yeah,
res?
and for example, like family life.
Ja, in naprimer družinsko življenje.
So
Wow.
really, you haven't learned yet to be completely submissive to Adi Purusha.
Torej,
And
očitno,
to carry
I'm very submissive.
and to carry his shoes on your head every day. You haven't learned that yet.
očitno se še nisi naučila, da bi bila popolnoma pokorna Adi Puruši in da bi nosila njegove čevlje na glavi cel dan.
But
Nisi se še
actually,
tega
to tell you
naučila.
the truth, Adi Purusha is carrying her shoes on his head every day. So
Ampak pravzaprav, da vam povem resnico, Adi Puruša nosi njene čevlje na glavi cel dan.
because she's from Slovenia and she's the boss.
Zato, ker je ona iz Slovenije in ona je šefica.
Anyway, joking aside,
Poor Adi.
yeah, poor guy.
Ok, konec šale.
No, we trained him up nicely, so he's able to accept like that, and he has a very heavy mother, believe me.
Lepo smo ga strenirali in zato lahko on to spreme in verjemite mi, ima zelo strogo mamo.
Yeah, believe me, I spoke to her many times. A strong lady.
Velikokrat sem z njo govoril, ona je res močna ženska.
So you may think in Indian culture the women are just very soft and everything. No.
A torej ti misliš, da so ženske v indijski kulturi čisto nežne in mile? Ne.
No, it's like they would frighten Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So tako kot Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So anyway, so he was trained up from his very birth to be submissive.
Torej, on je bil že od svojega rojstva iztreniran, da je pokoren.
So anyway, I mean it's a different culture. There's different cultural norms, and these are only details. They're not essential, eternal principles. The cultural norms.
Torej, so različne kulture in so različna pravila obnašanja v družbi. In ta pravila so pravzaprav samo detajli.
So if one really wants to find out the principles, the unchangeable principles, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written something called the Dasamula, which means the 10 unchangeable principles of Krishna consciousness.
Če pa želimo spoznati ta načela, ki se ne spreminjajo, Šrila Bhaktivinoda Thakur je napisal knjigo Dasamula, to je teh 10 načel, ki se ne spreminjajo.
I mean, example for Krishna's holy name, chanting Krishna's name is the Yuga Dharma. We're not the body. We're part and parcel of Krishna. These things are eternal, and basically other things can be changed.
Torej, to, da pojemo Krišnova imena, to, da nismo ta materialna telesa in to, da smo sestavni delčki Krišne, to je večno, ampak vse drugo pa se lahko spreminja.
For example, I'm wearing a dhoti, but that's a detail, not a principle.
Naprimer, jaz sedaj nosim dhoti, ampak to je detalj, to ni načelo.
Some Vaishnavas have tilak like I have, if you can see it, and other Vaishnavas have tilak wider than that. These are just details.
Nekateri Vajšnave imajo tilak tako narisan, kot ga imam jaz. Nekateri Vajšnave imajo veliko širši tilak. To so detajli.
You know, I play a guitar and someone else plays a sitar. It's just a detail.
Jaz recimo igram kitaro, nekdo drug pa igra sitar in to je samo detajl.
And let's see what else details. When I dance in kirtan, I dance a certain way, and someone else dances in another way. It's just a detail.
Ko jaz plešem v kirtanu, jaz plešem na nek svoj način, nekdo drug pa pleše na drugačen način. To je samo detajl.
So you know, there's cultural things like, and in every culture, you'll find people who are extremely liberal, and you're going to find people who are extremely conservative.
In v vsaki kulturi lahko najdeš ljudi, ki so zelo liberalni in ljudi, ki so zelo konzervativni.
So just like in any country, you have political parties. You have a conservative party. I'm sure there in Slovenia you have a conservative party, and then you have probably have several different parties and some that are more liberal.
Tako tudi, verjetno tudi v Sloveniji imate različne politične stranke, eni so konzervativna stranka, verjetno imate več strank, eni so bolj liberalne stranke.
So some people may think that the only place for a wife is in the kitchen cooking.
Nekateri ljudje lahko mislijo, da je edino mesto za ženo, da je v kuhinji in da kuha.
And other people may think that the ladies should be in charge of the movement. So everybody is different.
Eni drugi pa mislijo, da bi ženske morale voditi gibanje, skupnost.
Actually,
Vsi smo drugačni.
the best prime minister of any country in the world is the prime minister in New Zealand. And she's a lady, obviously.
Torej, najboljši glavni minister na svetu je ministrica v Novi Zelandiji, ki je ženska.
Lalita Sundari's in ecstasy hearing this.
Lalita Sundari je res blažena, ko to posluša.
Anyway, it's different cultures. Just like in Europe, many years ago, you had an extremely chauvinistic culture. You know, if you go back several hundred years, it was extremely chauvinistic.
Tako lahko recimo v Evropi pred nekaj stoletji je bila kultura zelo šovinistna.
And right now, if you read the news about the royal family in the UK, you'll see that they're actually coming to some realizations about the modern world.
In ko pa sedaj berete novice o kraljevski družini, pa lahko vidite, da pravzaprav sedaj prihaja do nekih novih realizacij.
Because they're still living like 200 years in the past.
Pravzaprav oni še vedno živijo, kot da so 200 let v preteklosti.
So anyway, we just allow people to be Krishna conscious in whatever cultural environment they feel comfortable in. And that's what Prabhupada did.
Preprosto dovolimo ljudem, da postanejo zavestni Krišne v kakršnekoli kulturnem okolju že so. In to je tudi Prabhupada naredil.
Prabhupada, being an acharya, was an expert judge of time, place, and circumstance.
Prabhupada je bil acharya in je bil zelo spreten v sodbi glede na čas, prostor in okoliščine.
Okay, we have time for one more question.
Imamo čas za še za eno vprašanje.
I think Natya and Anja have questions.
Okay. Natya in Anja.
Hare Krishna Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances. My question is very similar to Lalita Sundari. Sometimes when I read the comments of the purports from His Holiness Srila Prabhupada, and when I listen to memories of him, I feel like there are two different persons, you know? And I feel like that some people who are, or devotees who are reading just the purports, they don't get the whole picture of who Srila Prabhupada was. And I have to admit, there was this time when I was feeling constantly guilty for some things. You know, you have to wear this, you have to act like this, you know. It's, I feel like we should da bi mogli bolj približati ljudem na to celotno sliko.
Približati, v kakšnem smislu približati?
Iz komentarjev in kdo je bil kot oseba, ne, kako se je obnašal to.
Okay, Parma, you want to translate that, or is it?
Yeah, I just didn't understand completely what she said.
I feel like we should get people the whole picture.
Yeah, what she's saying is to present Krishna consciousness, generally there is only one side presented. And we should present the whole picture, the holistic Prabhupada.
Yes.
Okay, okay, I can translate. Tudi jaz imam podobno vprašanje kot Lalita Sundari. Imela sem včasih občutek, ko sem brala knjige in potem, ko sem poslušala pa o tem, kako je pač Prabhupada se obnašal, ne, kot da sta to dve različni osebi. In imam občutek, da ljudje ne dobijo celotne slike o tem, kdo je Prabhupada, če samo berejo njegove knjige. In mislim, da bi morali pravzaprav to predstaviti, ne, to celotno sliko njega z obeh teh vidikov. A je to v redu, Natja?
Yeah, I agree. You know, we've driven some people away from Krishna consciousness because we only present one side.
Se strinjam, ja, smo odgnali nekatere ljudi stran od zavesti Krišne, ker smo predstavili Prabhupada samo enostransko.
Even in India, it's like that. I was just speaking to one of my friends in India. Translate, yeah.
Celo v Indiji je tako. Pravkar sem govoril z enim svojim prijateljem iz Indije.
So he walked into the temple to attend some programs, and the first thing they asked him, they said, "Do you follow the four regulative principles?" And then he left for about 3 years, didn't come back.
Torej, on je šel, prišel je prvič v tempelj in so mu takoj rekli, so ga vprašali, če sledi 4 regulativne principe. In potem je odšel in ga ni bilo nazaj 3 leta.
So anyway, it's a big problem, and the solution is just to present Prabhupada in a holistic way, you know, that I can't think of any other solution other than speaking like I'm speaking and letting people read different books about Prabhupada's interactions with the ladies, like Vishaka's book.
Torej, edino, kar lahko rečem, je, da predstavimo pač stvari holistično in da tudi ljudem priporočimo pač, da tudi berejo druge knjige, kot je ta knjiga, ki jo je Vishaka napisala, tako da dobijo tudi to drugo predstavo.
There was one interesting interaction Prabhupada had. One time, Malati, one of Prabhupada's older disciples, was serving Prabhupada prasadam to Prabhupada and all of his godbrothers.
Nekoč je Malati, učenka od Prabhupada, je servirala prasadam Prabhupadu in njegovim bratom po Bogu.
And Prabhupada's godbrothers, being very conservative because of Indian culture, were surprised that, Prabhupada had her serving.
In ti bratje po Bogu od Prabhupada so bili zelo presenečeni, ker so bili bolj konzervativne narave, zakaj je Prabhupada dovolil njej, da je ona njih stregla.
And then Prabhupada said something very interesting. He said, she would die for me, and Prabhupada said, I would die for her. So Prabhupada showed how much he just considered everyone equal and loved everybody.
In potem je Prabhupada rekel nekaj zelo presenetljivega, rekel je, ona bi umrla zame in jaz bi umrl za njo. In s tem je pravzaprav pokazal, kako je on pravzaprav vsakega tretiral na enak način in kako je vse imel enako rad.
And anyway, it's a problem, and also sometimes I get in trouble for presenting a balanced view. So even I get in trouble. Some people want to crucify me.
Torej je problem in tudi jaz včasih zabredem v težave, ker poizkušam pač predstaviti celo zadevo na nek balansiran način. Sam pridem v težave.
Yeah, I mean that's basically why Jesus Christ got crucified, because he was trying to present the religion, Judaism, according to the essence rather than the rituals. And then the people who were making all the money didn't like it.
In v bistvu to je zato, zakaj so Jezusa križali, ker je on hotel predstaviti samo bistvo, religijo pač v samem bistvu, ne pa v skladu z temi rituali. In potem so pač tisti, ki so denar iz tega služili, so se razjezili in so ga križali.
But my opinion is there has to be a place for everybody. I mean, people who are feeling one way or people who are feeling the other way, there has to be some place for them where they can feel comfortable. As it said, Prabhupada built a house that everybody could live in.
Ampak jaz mislim, da pravzaprav v ISKCON-u bi pač moral biti prostor za vse, za ljudi, ki pač mislijo na en način in tudi za ljudi, ki mislijo na drugačen način, ker Prabhupada je rekel, da je zgradil hišo, v kateri lahko vsi živijo.
Okay, and just time for one more question. I think Anja had a question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna, I'm listening to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, and he often stated in the lectures that if we want to know Krishna, that we must get first known ourselves. And I don't know if I don't understand this point. So if you please kindly explain this.
Okay, you can translate.
Torej, poslušam Srila Prabhupadova predavanja in sem slišala, da če hočemo spoznati Krišno, razumeti Krišno, moramo najprej razumeti sami sebe in ne vem, kaj to pomeni, ne razumem tega.
Okay, so actually to know ourselves means to know ourselves as part of Krishna. That's who we really are.
Torej, poznati sebe pomeni poznati se kot sestavni delček Krišna. Krišne, to smo mi.
Yeah. It also means to know what our spiritual position is, our level of Krishna consciousness.
Hkrati pa to tudi pomeni, kaj je naš duhovni položaj, kakšen je naš nivo zavesti Krišne.
Because if one is thinking themselves more spiritually advanced than they actually are, they could put themselves in a dangerous position.
Ker če nekdo misli, da je bolj napreden, kot pa je v resnici je, potem se lahko postavi v nevarni položaj.
So that's basically what knowing oneself is. But the main thing is, as Krishna says in Gita Mami Vangsa Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatanat, to know that we're actually Krishna's parts and parcels, and we're connected with Krishna. And Krishna is the Supreme Father, at least in the beginning.
Torej, to pomeni, da se zavedamo, kdo smo, ampak v bistvu to pomeni, da vemo, da smo mi sestavni delčki Krišne in da je Krišna naš oče.
Okay. All right, I think I have to go now. So we're very happy to see everybody. I mean, just like, this is ecstatic. Wish we could get together more often. Maybe every few weeks, every 2 weeks or something, we could have meetings like this, Prema.
Yes, can we schedule every
Yeah,
2
next
weeks?
week I'll be traveling. I don't know. Yeah, we'll keep in touch with you. We could schedule something, but it's really nice to see everybody, especially in these COVID times. It's nice to be able to see people. I was actually looking at this one alternative to Zoom that maybe we can try it sometime, where people are in circles rather than in squares. It actually driving me crazy to see everybody in little squares. So we may do that next time, because I signed up for this other service today and I'm just testing it out, where people are in circles and you can move the circles around to talk to different groups of people. Because it's just like, squares just drive me crazy. Isn't it?
May I
It's
translate?
it's so unnatural. Anyway, you don't have to translate that. So, just like, oh my God, another square. Because I'm on Zoom like 8 hours a day. It's just like, I'm ready to scream after a while. If you can have some fun thing you can do, move your circles around, or put a background where at least you think you're in Vrindavan and you can move your circles around in Braj, that would be nice. All right. Anyway, thank you very much. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. We'll see everybody soon. And if anyone has any questions, they can always write to me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki